Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So you all know by now that Democrat Terry McAuliffe lost to Republican Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. And Democrats, they still aren't acknowledging the true reason for that loss and why they're going to lose in the midterms and why they're going to lose in 2024. It's because of fealty to corporate donors. Yet you've got all these people with their hot takes, blaming it on wokeness and ridiculous ideas like that. I mean, they're blaming everything except for the actual reasons and the actual candidate. So, I mean, look at some of the statistics. As reported by the Daily Poster, billionaires gained $2 trillion in wealth during this pandemic at the worst time in our economy, while at the same time, 1 in 5 households actually saw their entire life savings vanish. Those two Americas don't exist because of the bullshit idea of meritocracy, or because some people are just gifted and smarter than others, or because of wokeness. It's allowed to exist because our political system has been taken over by special interests. And studies show that more and more every year, Congress members serve the needs of these few wealthy Americans while ignoring the will of the majority of voters who put them in office. And that's across the board, not just Democrats, Republicans too. But Democrats like to point the finger and pretend like they're the good guys, and it's just the Republicans who are corrupt. I'm sorry, but until we get real about the corruption on our side of the aisle, this isn't going to change, and we're going to lose. For the vast majority of Americans, average Americans, the writing has been on the wall for quite some time that what we need, what we want, simply doesn't matter. And even before votes were cast in this Virginia election and in New Jersey, you had people like Republican light Senator John Tester already blaming progressives, not corporate Democrat greed and their pandering to their wealthy donors. Oh no, it's never that. It couldn't be the fact that people maybe remember that Terry McAuliffe took part in a secret meeting with Pete Buttigieg and other Democratic elites during the 2020 presidential primary to figure out ways to stop Bernie Sanders from winning the nomination. And no, I'm not making that up. I believe that was reported on in the New York Times. That's a factual thing that happened. They were holding meetings with his challenger, with Pete Buttigieg, to discuss ways to stop him. Yeah, that left a sour taste in my mouth in regard to Terry McAuliffe. But no, it couldn't be that. And it certainly couldn't be McAuliffe himself. It couldn't be their golden boy candidate. Couldn't be that because McAuliffe had no message, basically, other than Trump bad, Youngkin like Trump. I mean, he rarely talked about what he stood for, only what he stood against. But no, it must be progressives' fault. Tester told Politico that, quote, "We haven't gotten anything done. That says enough about their strategy." Their strategy? Oh, you mean demanding that Democrats actually walk the walk instead of just talking the talk, that they actually try to help people? Not only have progressives continually negotiated in good faith, not only did they drop their desired $6 trillion package down to a measly $1.75 trillion, which doesn't cover much of anything, but they're also the only ones who actually give a damn about the voters and what they want and what they need. They're the only ones fighting to provide free college tuition, expanded Medicare coverage, child care coverage, paid family leave, free pre-K, lower prescription drug prices, all kinds of wildly popular services and programs that most Americans want, regardless of their political affiliation. This is a proven fact. The Daily Poster, this is a news outlet, if in case you haven't heard of it, they do some awesome work. It's David Sirota's organization. They broke down some of the polling on the policies that are in the reconciliation bill, which progressives have been fighting for. And it's very revealing. So according to a Morning Consult survey, 82% of registered voters support adding dental and vision benefits to Medicare. That's out. 72% of registered voters support the idea of allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. That's out, largely due to corporate shill Kyrsten Sinema. And after she got a huge fundraising boon from the insurance industry, all of a sudden, oh gosh, I just can't get behind that. Wonder why. They went on, 70% of voters support paid family and medical leave for new parents. That was in the bill that's been cut back again and again and again until it's a freaking joke. And in a poll specifically in West Virginia voters, where Joe Manchin is the senator, 48% of the people polled there said that they support the reconciliation bill. Okay, so not a majority, but a large chunk of people. Now, when you ask those same voters if they support the bill, if all of these things, all of these policies were paid for by closing tax loopholes and increasing taxes on the wealthiest Americans in the country, their support for the bill went to 70%. 70%, guys. And that's not the only poll that shows that these policies are incredibly popular. People want the wealthy to pay their fair share. And that is not just a Democrat thing. It's not just an independent thing. It's across the board. The only people who don't want the wealthy to pay more in taxes and pay their fair share are the wealthy. Other polls say the same thing. A Vox poll recently showed that 71% of voters support the idea of increasing taxes on the wealthiest people in the country. Even Biden's own internal polling during his 2020 presidential campaign, they did internal polling showing that out of more than 30 economic program proposals, increasing taxes on the wealthy was by far the most popular of all of those 30 plus proposals. That's called a clue. Yet people like Manchin and Tester, Sinema, others who are bought and paid for, they're purposely tanking all of it. And we can't forget the Republican light saboteurs in the House. That's just in the Senate. But there's plenty in the House. Take, for instance, Josh Gottheimer and his buddies. I shouldn't leave his friends out. He's a New Jersey Democrat who leads the so-called Problem Solvers Caucus. Yeah, they're solving a lot of problems over there, aren't they? Back in August, he and 8 other people, you may remember this, they signed on to a letter. They were known as the Unbreakable Nine. So they sent Nancy Pelosi a letter demanding that she immediately bring a vote to the floor on the infrastructure plan, the plan that's supported by corporate interests and contains very little that will actually help average Americans. They wanted her to ignore the promise that she made to progressives to also simultaneously hold a vote on the reconciliation bill, which contains all of the popular policies I just mentioned and a ton more. Now, according to the Intercept news outlet, the very next day after he sent that demand letter to Pelosi, 3 of the co-signers on that letter had their best fundraising day of all of 2021. What a coincidence, right? In one day, Ed Case of Hawaii raised $99,000 in one day. Kurt Schrader of Oregon brought in $131,000, and California Congressman Jim Costa raked in $106,000. Less than a week later, Gottheimer went on the corporate loved, elite loved show, Morning Joe, and he reiterated this call for an immediate vote. The day after his appearance, he had the highest fundraising day for him of the third quarter. He brought in over $124,000 in one day. And several of the letter's other co-signers also had their best third quarter fundraising days. So Carolyn Bordeaux of Georgia, Vincent Gonzalez of Texas, and Jared Golden of Maine. They each raised a minimum of $109,000 in one day. And after it appeared that Pelosi had caved when she said, okay, yeah, I'll hold a vote on that in late September, these so-called Dems raked in an additional mountain of cash. The Intercept said that between August 13th and August 27th, so the time they sent the letter and when it seemed like Pelosi was caving, Gottheimer and these others raised a collective $3.1 million. And many of these donations were made by the same people, many of whom don't even live in their districts. And the people who donated the most amount of money on those days have the most to lose under Biden's Build Back Better reconciliation portion of the bill. No surprise, they're mostly from the insurance industry, financial services, they're private equity investors. And many of them have something else in common. They're linked to a group that's called No Labels. You guys may have heard of this group. They paint themselves as this, oh, we're nonpartisan. We're all about good governance. You know, we're just about bringing everyone together and singing Kumbaya and, you know, getting to the middle. Really, the middle of what? The middle of corporate cash, apparently, because in reality, this group, and then I'm not just pointing fingers at them. They just happen to be tied to these people who brought in all this money, but there are many more like them. And basically, they're like lobbying groups for the uber wealthy. So you've got people struggling in this country. You've got people watching everything they've worked for vanish. And yet these assholes want nothing to do with helping them. They're, nope, got mine. I don't care about you. Too bad. Oh, well, go learn how to code and get a better job. Really? A recent Harvard study came out. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a while back. It showed that 61% of American families are facing financial crisis. 61%. While these ghouls are raking in millions of dollars to block assistance for these very same people. Now, I'm not saying Republicans are the good guys in all this. They wouldn't be doing anything to help anyone either. They're all funded by the same similar greedy bastards. But voters gave Democrats control. They gave them a mandate. We gave them control of everything. And once again, they're squandering it. They're squandering this opportunity to help everyday Americans because they're either too weak and pathetic to effectively wield their power, or they're too corrupt to give a damn. And they just don't want to make changes. That's the real reason why they won't abolish the filibuster, because they don't want to have to put their name on anything. They don't want to have to go to the floor and actually take votes. I say abolish the filibuster and let the chips fall where they may. If the Republicans are given a mandate, if people are so fed up with Democrats and Republicans take control of everything, then you know what? They should be able to pass their agenda. And all these people saying, oh, but, Republicans are rigging the election maps and Republicans are gerrymandering districts and they're enacting voter restricting laws and blah, blah, blah. And it's not even a fair game. Yeah, that's all true. You know how you could also stop that? By abolishing the filibuster. So if they don't abolish the filibuster, they're not going to have control in the future. That's just a fact. Because Republicans are rigging the game for future elections. So why not take a chance, roll the dice, get rid of the filibuster, which was not a part of the Constitution, which only served to allow for racist policies, and then let the party in power make decisions. Let the majority rule in the country like it's supposed to. And here's the thing, for those on the right who are terrified of communism, or those on the left who are rightfully and equally terrified of fascism, as I am, you know how you avoid falling into either of those scenarios? You help average Americans. You shore up the massive wealth gap in the United States. When people feel unheard and desperate, that's when they're more likely to fall for some strong man whispering hate and fear in their ear. So just keep in mind, McAuliffe didn't lose because the masses didn't want their kids to learn about critical race theory, which, by the way, isn't even taught in the K through 12 system. And he didn't lose because progressives are holding up Biden's agenda. He didn't lose because people love Youngkin even. Remember, Virginia has been pretty predictably blue for quite some time. Yes, I know it usually goes for the opposite party, whoever's party lost in the last presidential election. I know that's been the pattern, but it's been leaning very hard blue for quite a while. I mean, Dems have held the governorship, they've held the majority in the legislature for quite some time. And it's not because of this freaking idiot, what James Carville said, who hasn't had a relevant idea or political call or thought since the 90s. Seriously, will everybody just stop believing James Carville? The guy said that in 2020, that Republicans would finally wake up and they'd finally be ready to ditch Trump because Trump was going to lose by such a huge margin that it was going to shake them out of their comas. He didn't use those exact words, but that's basically what he meant. People were saying, how do you get the Republican Party out of Trump's control? And he said, oh, we don't have to worry about that because they're going to get beat so bad that they're finally going to wake up. Wrong. He was wrong. They not only took back some seats in the House, held on to, prevent anything from happening in the Senate, but they also didn't lose by that much for the president. Overall, Trump lost by what? Less than 50,000 votes over a few states? Yeah, didn't go as he said. He also said that Hillary Clinton was going to overwhelmingly win in 2016. And Democrats would overwhelmingly win in 2016 because of Trump. He was wrong there too. The guy's been wrong every single time he opens his mouth. Yet MSNBC is only too willing to have him on spewing his bullshit as if he's some sort of god and as if he's some sort of expert. The guy is so out of touch. So no, we didn't lose. They didn't lose Virginia because the Democrats are too woke. McAuliffe lost because he's just another corporate Democrat with no message and no real agenda. And people are sick and tired of backing corporate sellouts who refuse to do what's right for average Americans. So if we want to have a democracy, in 10 years from now, Democrats better wake the fuck up, get their shit together, and realize that money is the root of all evil in the Democratic Party. Stop taking corporate donations, start doing what's right for your constituents, and guess what? They'll send you money. They'll send money for you, just like they did for Bernie Sanders. But if you keep pandering to your corporate masters, then yeah, that's who you're going to have to get your money from. And all it's going to do is fuel rage in this country. And it's going to lead to another Donald Trump, if not the Donald Trump again. And it's going to lead to more January 6th events, more conspiracy theories swirling around, because people see that, yes, there is corruption in our government. So it makes it easy to believe that other things could be going on. Once you find out that they're lying to you, are you ever going to believe them again? I don't. That's just the way it goes. I'll never 100% believe someone again once I catch them lying. Most people are the same way. They're always going to look at you with a little side eye. Anyway, guys, so stop listening to the BS out there, especially these so-called moderates who are so out of touch with what average Americans want. Take care, guys. I'll talk with you soon. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you can, become a friend or a supporter of the show. Click on the link in the description box. I really appreciate it. Take care.